The Trauma-Related Structural Dissociation of Personality by Elliot Niehaus, Nijenhuis, onno-van-der-hart, Hamira, how the fuck do I say that name? And Kathy Steele. Who is Elliot and who is Kathy Steele? Elliot, like all of these people, is just instantaneously a little bit creepy looking. And the very first thing I noticed about him is that he trained in originally, or was it Kathy Steele who originally trained in it? Kathy Steele trained in originally hypnosis, I believe. One of them originally trained in hypnosis. He's a psychologist, psychotherapist, and researcher. Apparently been working in the field for 40 years. So he uses that photo of him from many years ago, but he himself does look a little bit older, I feel. You recognise the name Kathy Steele because it's from all these books. Kathy Steele is co-author for that, but also Kathy Steele with Suzette Boone wrote where is it? Kathy Steele with Suzette Boone wrote Coping with Trauma-Related Dissociation. They're just big books that you see on every single website talking about DID. I haven't done any. This is what I mean. This is my first time properly looking into them myself, okay? I've not done due diligence on these names in the past. I found out a little bit about Onno. Again, I said this year and probably the next few years would all be about going over this stuff. I said that at the start of this year, and it has been a very slow, long process as we find out more and more names. Both Kathy Steele and Suzette Boone are on my original list as names to be looked into. I remember that much. So Suzette Boone was born in 1949. Fuck me, 82 years old. It's 82 years old. So she's 82. Onno-van-der-hart is 81. Kathy Steele is... I'm not sure. They're all very, very elderly is the point. They all trained in things like hypnotherapy and Piagetian psychotherapy, blah, 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 blah. 1949, is my maths off? Did it 72? Did I do my maths wrong? Angie, I might have done my maths wrong. No, I can't read that either. You will have fire kindling by the time I'm done dissecting them, Pangray. Same as anybody who bought or had given to them I Hate You Don't Leave Me, the BPD Bible. Most read and most popular book in the world of BPD, which we managed to dismantle literally in the first chapter, which I'm going to redo at some point soon, I feel, and make a proper version of that for YouTube. So one of the first things I did notice about them is, which I can't find right now, but I made a tweet about this the other day, so I'll find my tweet about it. Where is my tweet about it? Kathy Steele, Suzette Boone, and onno-van-der-hart wrote Treating Trauma-Related Dissociation, a Practical Integrative Approach Together, which is the winner of the 2017 Pierre Genet Writing Award from the International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation. Kathy Steele is a former president of the ISSTD. Suzette Boone is co-founder and first president of the SSTD with Onno-van-der-Hart, who used to be president of the ISSTD. So they literally give themselves awards on their own books in order to sell them at 30 quid a pop. So we're going to try and find a PDF or the first chapter of their most popular book together. But first, I saw that they have some videos, the Trauma Therapist podcast. So I think we've possibly watched some videos on here before, but let's watch some more old people talk together badly on Zoom. Yeah, we've definitely watched some of this shit before. I think we once tried to watch one of her videos maybe as well. Good times. Yep. Literally giving themselves awards. Literally losers, right? I'd literally just be like, how can anyone take these people seriously when they had to give themselves awards because they're actually not respected or regarded well in mental health or mental illness research fields? They are total losers, complete losers. Trauma Therapist 2.0. Kathy Steele. I'm hype, motherfuckers. Cultivating collaboration and dissociative identity disorder. This is what it's all about. The cult. The cult. Grow the cult. Cultivating collaboration is literally grow the cult. Grow, build, collaborate, expand. This is from February 1st, 2019.
I had a client come in and she'd had 30 years of therapy from...
And so Kathy Steele, because the other two, Onno and Suzette and Ellert, are all from Holland. She will be... Kathy Steele is most likely the reason... Suzette Boone is American too. So Suzette Boone and Kathy Steele are most likely the reasons why these books have become so popular here in the English-speaking world as well.
Other therapists focused on trauma, mostly about really just telling her story. Okay, and the more she told the story, the more dysregulated she got, which is a phenomenon we're familiar with dissociative clients and some clients with complex PTSD. Is they don't have the ego skills to be able to tolerate the emotion. So, of course, we worked in the early phases of treatment with the stabilization skills of emotion regulation and tolerance and learning to create a kind of narrative about all kinds of things that was in her window.
Fuck Twitch, but also fuck the fact that just moving my mic then caused coffee to spill into my weed tub. Oh god, I don't know what to do about this shit. Also, hey.
Of tolerance. But as we worked, it began to be more clear to me that she was more dissociative than she wanted me to know. We had talked a bit about ego states and that kind of thing, but it became clear that there was very definite amnesia between her experience of herself as an adult and her experience of herself as a child. And she had an image inside of many children who were screaming and crying desperately and could never get relief. And so her way of coping with that had always been to try to go on as an adult and look really good as an adult and function, but at the expense of trying to ignore and suppress.
Now, be honest, a few months ago, right, properly, hey, Clary, how you doing? A few months ago, what she's saying right now would have totally resonated to some of you, right? She's saying stuff right now that you all would have totally resonated to, right? Whereas now, I'm hoping you're just like, yeah, she's just saying stuff. It's just a story. It's just she's not discussing anything that could actually have anything to do with science. It's just words, right? She's just saying fluffy, airy words that are completely meaningless. That you might go, oh yeah, I feel like I have a child inside me and all these voices screaming at me. Does that mean I have DID? Right?
and even deny these young parts of herself that held her childhood experiences. And so what happened over time is the typical thing that happens with clients who are dissociative is that parts begin to resent each other, be afraid of.
Literally, it's like, hey, Clary, you're number one. But also, fuck you, Clary. Spanish voices? They're not speaking Spanish. Oh, God. This would have resonated with you, right? Anyone who has dissociation or whatever, it's like what they're saying is fluffy. I mean, exactly. But it would for pretty much everyone, right? But you get what I'm saying, Twilight. Like a year or so ago, before all these conversations we'd been having, you'd have been like, right, this does sound really good, right? And now it's more like,
of each other, be ashamed of each other. So that the young parts were really angry with the adult part for not tending to them.
Also, I hope people are noticing, because I swear people, everyone goes on about their alters and talks about their alters, and most people have alters at a spectrum of ages. Yeah, have you noticed whenever we watch these videos from these experts in this area, it's literally always about child alters. It's all it's ever about. And I believe this is the same page. Maybe no. And as we saw that other one with Valerie Sinerson, they also say that your child alters and a paedophile alters too and stuff at the same time. And it's like, anyone can experience amnesia under enough stress too. Yep. It's why all this rhetoric about how it's definitely fragmentation, how it's, what it is when you're a child, you're part, you're many. It's just airy stuff that sounds like it could be true, but has nothing to back it, like even remotely, in terms of science. And it becomes more and more obvious to me anyway.
Though she were a separate adult person.
I understand. Like, I felt issues with it before when I used to hear this stuff, but now I'm more noticing the specific issues. Is I guess what I'm saying as well.
And the adult self was really wanting to deny and minimize and avoid the young parts because she felt like she couldn't tolerate those emotions. So this is the typical conundrum in working with parts. So instead of working with one part at a time, which I think newer therapists try to do with DID, and which I think is not very effective, I really began to work with her as a whole system, sort of helping the adult self accept her vulnerabilities and helping the vulnerable self accept that, yes, she had grown up and was now much more capable than she was as a child. And just shuttling back and forth between those, helping the adult self develop better compassion and
sort of regrind
cooperation internally with these young parts. So I never, in this particular case, never worked.
Yeah, I'm glad you're starting to also point these things out in chat yourself as well, because I used to talk and point out all the time how these people do not, if you have DID, right? Because I 100% believe most of you when you talk about it to me. I really do. I cannot keep expressing that enough, and I'm going to keep expressing it because I cannot ever have you not believe that, but not know it. I need you to know that I believe you, right? And that's purely selfish on my end as well. I'm not saying this for you guys. I'm saying this purely for me. On a selfish end, I for my sake, I need you to know that I do believe you, right? And I will always try to talk to you like human beings. And something I've been saying from day one is these psychotherapists, when they go specializing into DID, either they're the onno-van-der-hart, Remy Acrone type, overtly creepy for reasons we can all understand more and more, or I think they see you purely as interesting, exciting, fascinating. They want to prove their grand ideas, their grand lofty notions. It's not that they resonate with you, understand you, or feel anything for you. It's like scientists with lab rats. And that's grim, but that explains the nature of so much of the research. It's either total disconnect or it's overconnect with someone like Onno-van-der-Hart. I cannot wait to read some of this book and some of his papers. Let's finish this and I've crowned. Let me have a bong and we'll go. Ooh.
With an individual child part, although there are certainly cases in which you might do that for particular reasons, but was really able to help the adult client deal better with these separate parts of herself, to the point where both sides could say, oh, the other side is also me. The child and the child parts could say, oh, that's me, now I'm grown up. And so that realization on both sides grew. So that's how I like to work, really taking a careful approach.
She literally said nothing this whole time. This has been 4 minutes of nothing.
To those conflicts between parts that maintain dissociation.
So when she presented initially, you had said she had 30 years of
good
therapy.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
Years of therapy.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
So my guess is, how did she present?
Awkward. This is in 2019. Look at how she looks in response to that. Because at this point, 2019, February. Oh no, wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. So she would have known about Onno-van-der-Hart's patient, but the court hearing was in July of 2019. So the court hearing disbarring her lovely Onno-van-der-Hart hadn't happened yet, but she would have been one of the few people to know that Onno-van-der-Hart had been treating a patient for over 20 years. Watch her reaction here. This is incredible. I'm good. I think everyone's mostly... We're all right. I think we're all right today. You know, had yesterday off to refresh and reset. I think that was the right move. But I also spent loads of time working yesterday. We haven't had any reason to notice yet, so I'll just show you. I got some things working again, so now... Wow! That should happen when somebody follows me. And then...
Never take your own life. Listen, 5 Rip Mac. Never take your own life.
When somebody subscribes. Wow! And then that should happen when someone gives bits. I was initially waiting for Trip to be here to show that off, but there's a few people here now, so I thought I'd just show those things off. So yeah, that's still the same. Haven't done anything new for that. Haven't done anything new there yet. Yeah, so I spent some time doing some animations, because I enjoy animating and drawing every now and then. I just haven't done enough. Wow! Thank you, Clary. Like, I have a reason to do this again now. Woo! It's undeniably great, that, right? I'm happy with the animation. I spent ages on, well, not ages on. It took me a couple of hours, but a couple of hours is a long time for me. And then I've gotten food, done good shit. It has been tested. We know it works now. Thanking you. We actually know that's working. One thing that isn't working. I haven't noticed one thing I haven't noticed working. Is that working? Is that working? Oh yeah, that is working. I just hadn't looked. That is working. Cool. Frustrating. I feel that too. That's the most annoying thing ever. Bongs on. Alright, let's finish this fucking video and let's watch her reaction to this moment.
Presented, initially you had said she had 30 years of therapy.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it?
So my guess is...
Looks down, looks up awkwardly, and starts to smile and laugh about it. And then gulp, and then a heavy gulp.
My guess is,
oh, I love a bit of body language analysis. Awkward.
How did she present? What was her understanding of what her experience was?
In those 30 years of therapy?
Well, in other words, did she come to you saying, I have DID and this is what's going on and that's what's going? Okay.
No, she didn't come that way. She came...
why are we cutting off here, guys? Why are we cutting off here?
Saying...
Love it. Fucking love it. And then that'll be behind a paywall. In fact, I already know it's behind a paywall. So that's that person, apparently. That's the same person we just saw in film there. They all use fucking catfish photos. I swear to God, all of them use the most catfishy photos of themselves ever. Is dissociation the same as emotional numbness? Dissociation can mean emotional numbness, but also can mean spacing out. Spacing out. Fuck off. Spacing out and daydreaming is not dissociation. You can daydream and space out and start dissociating, but initially it's not always. I'd say it's only if that hypnotic part of your brain kicks in that does it truly count as dissociating, when you're just daydreaming or spacing out. Or having dissociative parts, as in dissociative identity disorder. Sometimes people have alexithymia, which literally means feelings or something. How can you tell if someone's dissociating? Depends on how you define it. We look at it as checking out, zoning out, emotional numbness. We look for trouble staying present. Trouble staying present. Right, how do we look for... What does staying present look like? All right, 2 minutes, final one, and then we read.
Attachment cry, it has nothing to do with secure attachment. It's an incredibly defensive, desperate kind of measure in which the client is really fixed in focus on gaining the care and attention of the therapist. They are not interested in and cannot focus in that moment on what's going on with me. What do I need to do to work with my own process here? Which, of course, is the position of being in therapy. So what we want to do with clients is, yes, be very compassionate, but be aware that the more we respond to attached cry, particularly outside of session, the more attached cry is going to be activated in some clients, right? The more the attachment cry is activated, the more the internal rage parts are going to be activated, and it often swings right back into shame. And so
a mistake practitioners might make when a patient is stuck in an attachment-based trauma response, and then she starts talking about, what is attachment cry? What is she on about?
You get a need, shame, rage cycle in the client.
The old need, shame, rage cycle.
And the therapist is thinking, the client is calling me, having more episodes of flashbacks, having more dysregulation, having more self-harm. What is going on? Oh, maybe just the client needs more attachment. This is a huge mistake because it is the attachment that is actually activating the whole system.
Right. So, like if your patient calls you up, needs help, and it's happening regularly, maybe they've self-harmed, you've got to create distance between you and them. This is the sort of logic that leads the NHS's thinking at the moment.
And what we want to do is go back into the client and deal with that inner conflict of, I desperately need you, and boy, is that dangerous for a part of me. And boy, do I feel so helpless and so needy, and I am so ashamed of that. Now I'm going to beat myself up and cut myself because I'm so ashamed of how needy I'm being. So we really want to help the client deal with the inner conflict.
So you got to cut them off when they're feeling like that. This is exactly what I said. She's saying you need to create distance between you and the client if they're feeling like that. This is exactly what I just said. Wow.
Rather than meet the needs of one side or the other.
Therapy is about her, Twilight, because her good friend Onno-van-der-hart, you know, he also lost 20 years of his life. You know, he was fine, and he couldn't treat his patient because of how much she was, and he ended up destroying his relationship because of her and stuff, his marriage, and it's all her fault. Like, she probably feels bad for her good friend Onno. She had 30 years of therapy?
Now it's no.
I'm so sorry. I really need her. This is soundbite soon. Let's have a look at some Suzette Boone quotes. Fear and anxiety affect decision making in the direction of more caution and risk aversion. Traumatized individuals pay more attention to cues of threat than other experiences. You're right. Everyone knows this. Cool. Like, she's a thinker. Cool. And they interpret ambiguous stimuli in situations as threatening, as Eisneck 1992 said. Right. This isn't even her own information. Says this is a quote of hers, but the first bit isn't even her own quote. Leading to more fear-driven decisions. In people with dissociative disorder, certain parts are compelled to focus on the perception of danger. Living in trauma time, these dissociative parts immediately perceive the present as being just like the past, and emergency emotions such as fear, rage, or terror immediately. Oh, I agree with this, actually, are immediately evoked, but this is talking about PTSD. She's saying in people with dissociative disorder, but this is also in people with PTSD, or what's also called CPTSD or BPD, but I just say PTSD. Which compel impulsive decisions to engage in defensive behaviors, freeze, flight, fight, or collapse. Freeze, fight, flight, or collapse. Isn't freeze the same as collapse? What? When parts of you are triggered, more rational and grounded parts may be overwhelmed and unable to make effective decisions. Okay. All of that is just stuff other people have said and is generally obvious. What is freeze, fight, flight, freeze, collapse? I know we're doing segueing here, but I just want to know what collapse is meant to be. Fainting, feelings of dizziness, loss of bowel control. I think that all comes under freeze. I hate the term fawn. I fucking hate the term fawn. I prefer flatter. But yes, the three systems aren't quite enough. I think that fourth edition of flattery does come in, but I also think the flatter response is combined with the freeze response, which would be combined with the shit yourself response. Fucking shit yourself. Fucking literally loss about, like, fucking literally shit yourself. Cool. So Suzette Boone, born 1949, clinical psychologist, psychotherapist, more than 30 years of experience working in mental health institutions, trainer and supervisor for the Dutch Society of Family Therapy. That's right, she's IFS, or IFT, Internal Family Systems, and the Dutch Society for Hypnosis. Right, she's the hypnotist and family systems one. That's right. She works in private practice, given workshops all over Europe and the USA. Where did she learn? She's co-founder of the ESTD, was the first president of the society, the International Society for the Study of Dissociation, granted her the David Cool Memorial Award in 1993, the Morton Prince Award in 1994, and the President's Award of Distinction and the status of Fellow in 1995 for her contributions to the diagnosis, treatment, research, and education in the field of dissociative disorders. In 2009, she received the Lifetime Achievement Award, and in 2011, the Pierre Genet Writing Award for the book Coping with trauma-related dissociation, a skills training for patients and their therapists. So she was friends with Onno-van-der-Hart, and this is the book, as I say, that is Kathy Steele, Onno-van-der-Hart, and Suzette Boone. So that's why she comes in there. And she trained in internal family systems and hypnosis. And it's her training in IFS, which actually, if you, like, I agree with Jess on this, like, IFS should be kept away from people with DID. It shouldn't be learnt. It could have some potential help to people with DID, but that's yet to be shown. And as a whole, an unproven therapy that is very pseudoscientific being merged with what, again, we're trying to prove to be a real diagnosis is not helpful. And it's not helpful that these people that have trained in IFS are the ones creating our knowledge of what DID is. Am I right or am I right? I've trained in nothing. Absolutely nothing. And it literally gives me as much credentials to talk about this stuff. This is what I mean, guys. Right, this is what I mean. Here we go. This is my proof. She says she's a clinical psychologist, but she doesn't list where she got her training, but she does list her awards and stuff. The reality is she's a psychotherapist, senior consultant trainer. The reality is the things that she's added to the world of DID isn't from if she has a clinical psychology degree, I'll be surprised, but it's from her hypnosis and IFS background. Two things that I could get a qualification in tonight. If you guys send me £100, I'll fucking get 2 pointless certificates. I'd rather not. I'd rather spend that £100 on something else. Please don't force me to spend it on that. But I could, that's how much it would cost. £100, and I'd have to watch 2 6-hour online videos. Just leave them on in the background, go do something else, and once those are watched, I have my certificate given to me. She lists in the Dutch version of the site University van Utrecht. I recognise that name. Clinical psychology, child psychology, and anthropology masters. I don't know what that is for masters in. I was doing well up until on the sock. Is that masters, not PhD then? Right, an internal family system is a pseudotherapy. It's a framework. IFS is a framework to treat people who have trauma, okay? And it treats you by teaching you that you have parts, which is why it can be dangerous to treat people with actual DID with it, because it's got a specific number of parts to it. It's it treats you by saying you have 5 parts. You have the mother part, the daughter part, the caregiver part. My big issue with IFS, as you will see if you look up any literature, is you will see it talks about having the mother part, the daughter part, the sister part, the caregiver part, the firefighter part. Try and find male language. That's test 1. Do just the basic misogyny test on it and see how much of it is targeted at women. See how much you can find that is targeted. Which medical language should always be a non-binary. It should always be gender neutral. It should always be they, them, he/her. Okay? It should never ever focus on a gender. And if it does, it is lazy and inept. The firefighter part is it's not fireman. It's not the fireman part. It's the firefighter part. They could have made that gendered male, but even there they carefully keep it gender neutral. That bit is kept gender neutral, whereas otherwise the language is generally mother, daughter. And I also, even if you find stuff where it's gender neutral, go find the original literature. We have had a look at that in the past, and it was fucked. Suzette Boone is now working, and she's born in 1949, so I did my math wrong earlier, didn't I? I made her too old. She's 72. Like, she is old. Again, I'm not age shaming here, but where people have been working in a field for over 30 years and people seemingly are getting worse under their care, I get issues. Yes, 49, so, like I say, she's 72. 72. Yeah. Yeah, I made her 82 first, but, you know, we can all agree she's 72. Onno-van-der-Hart's 81. And I don't think we found out how old Kathy Steele is. And again, not age shaming. Like, but I am age shaming when they have obviously had brain worms for the last 30 years and need to get out of the field. I've started, right, we next week or some point this week, we need to look into schema therapy as a group because I have some hopes for schema therapy. I have found nothing negative about schema therapy so far. And in fact, when asking people to try and trash it for me, all they could find was studies actually backing it up a bit further. So we all need to look into schema therapy as a group because that's the one I'm going to be looking into anyway. SCHEMA seems to be a advanced combination of DBT, CBT, minor sexism, plus a bit more fidelity and a bit more acceptance of where it needs to improve. It itself seems almost, from all the writings I've seen, you know, very aware of its failures as well. It's about capability, but it's also about intention. Exactly, it is also about intention. We find a lot of this is what I mean. We find a lot of this writing. This is what I mean. A lot of this writing seems capable. It might vibe with you, but you look at the intention of it, the true intention of it, and you start to see the misogyny and stuff. And whew. That's why I love having my many minds. Many minds make me better. Raise these conversations, even if these segues end up taking me forever. Like, don't we literally learn so much? I know I have. I literally know I have. Right, so those are creeps. Also, alert. We haven't looked up alert. You just have to. This is what I mean. This is I. When stuff resonates with you, and this is what I'm trying to say. Like, nobody is dumb for believing in this stuff initially, because when you need help and you find something that resonates, why wouldn't you believe it? And that's how it's designed. Nobody's dumb for falling for this stuff ever. I've fallen for plenty of this stuff in my own past. But when the second you look at it with a certain angle, you know, it's that classic thing that this is why our teachers, and I worry about education getting worse, because teaching critical thinking and teaching that, you know how at school, you know, you read a text, you know, a teacher will be like, in English, they'll be like, right now you have to read the subtext and try and understand what they meant. And everyone gets really bored in that lesson and nobody pays attention because it's not taught well. It needs to be taught well, because that's what enables these conversations and our ability to read a sentence that seems convincing and then go, yeah, but what are they actually saying there? What does that mean? Is that sexist? Is that ableist? Is that misogynistic? You know? And people can call us snowflakes for that, but I say that's literally how we keep evolving language and our brains as a society. It's shown that knowledge and language affects how our brains grow. This is how we grow as a culture and as a society and improve. We can make people and cultures as a whole more compassionate, more gentle, more soft, more understanding, more patient through language, right? Which we can do. You know, it's been like where the Germans have a very harsh but basic language that's very simple but direct. It does actually, it's been shown it affects how their brains work about things. It's what has led to them continuing to be one of the most mechanically industrial nations in the world, and the way they have more genius mathematicians from Germany, but also from Russia and China than anywhere else in the world. And it's to do with some parts of it culture, but a lot of it is also actually to do with language and how we learn thanks to language. And so if we can make it so that children are learning in a world that, thanks to its language, is far more compassionate, a world where, you know, they don't hear teachers using ableist, derogatory language every day at school, that will, that will shape things. You know, if kids grow up in a world where they see people being kinder, caring for their environment, yeah, the old folks may say, oh, it's too late, it's going to make no difference, or what's the point, or climate change isn't real and all that shit. But if we just keep doing it, those under us, those younger than us, will keep watching our example. And if our example is good, we will win. If we set a bad example, if we preach and don't lead by example, and speak hollow, empty words, and complain in echo chambers without actually demonstrating what we believe in, we will lose too. What rant? Where's the rant? I didn't see a rant. I haven't seen a rant. And I always say, cryptid, rule, broken. Wait, did Angie apologise as well? Angie, did you break the rule? Guys, the people breaking the rule. No breaking the rule. No breaking the rule. No breaking the rule. No breaking the rule. You're not allowed to apologise for sharing emotions, feelings, trauma sharing, trauma venting, never trauma dumping, because trauma dumping is rude, ableist, horrible language. It is trauma sharing or trauma venting, blah, 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 etc., etc., etc. What I'm saying is, no, we talk about heavy shit. Nobody ever has to apologise for sharing heavy shit. There is no right time or place. And thus, it is always the right time and the right place. There is never the right time and place for trauma to occur. It shouldn't have happened anyway. You never know when it's going to affect you or affect your brain or affect how you're feeling. And thus, it is never the right time for it. And thus, it is always the right time to share. And fuck those who don't let you. Is genuinely my feeling about it. And as we discussed yesterday, or no, the day before yesterday, we figured out the one time and place not to, I would say, trauma dump in this instance, and that would be if you were a therapist or a psychotherapist or psychologist or anyone in any medical field, and you were talking to a patient or an earshot of a patient. Do not be bitching about how hard your job is or how hard your day is or your awful divorce or any of that shit around or to your patients. That is the one time to never do it. And otherwise, there's never a right time to do it, and thus it is always the right time to do it. Is the message I am going to keep sharing for a while, I feel. Let me have this bong, and then I'm going to read what you said. Because, again, I mean it. Who was I saying? Was it Low? No. Who was I? No. Who was I saying this to literally just the other day? I'm never going to stop repeating this message, though, because I feel it's a very important one. Yeah. I feel it's a seriously important message that people need to take on board. And I'm so happy when I see you guys in here jumping on people for apologizing and telling them not to apologize, because I do see the message spreading in our community, which is, yeah, no, it's all right. We all get to do it. Nobody's ever one-upping anyone in here. It's always just, I need to share something, and it's like, cool, we'll listen, we'll read, we'll give you our emotion, our understanding, and our compassion. I understand that. And exactly, this is what I've been saying. I was so happy when I found any answer. I just jumped in wholeheartedly because I'm desperate for healing, and it breaks my heart that that's what these people are preying on. Yep. That's it. And that's why I'm saying you aren't stupid either. Nobody here is stupid. I feel like they, when we talk about conspiracy theories and stuff, it's very easy to be like, oh, they're stupid for believing in it. And this is something that James O'Brien preaches, and I have taken on board wholeheartedly, is contempt, compassion for the conned, contempt for the conman, or contempt for the conman, compassion for the conned. When you've been conned by this shit, I'm not gonna judge you for it or think, oh my God, you should have known better. It's literally, I acted that way before, but I've grown to understand better. And it's like, no, I get it, because it's when you are desperate, at your wit's edge, you are willing to try anything. And people they have historically always preyed on it. That's why snake oil salesmen have always been a thing. Yeah. So Elert is also 70. Studied the same uni during his bachelor's as Suzette and Onno. Maybe they all knew each other back then too. They're all the same age pretty much. Onno's the oldest, but he's 70, which is the same age as Suzette. Wow. Yeah. Your condition, Angie, was one of the most brutally treated, I'd say, in the past, and is now, I'd say, thankfully, not as misunderstood by medical professionals as it used to be, if still majorly misunderstood by the majority of the public. I'd say it's one of the most misunderstood mental illnesses, which is why we see so many schizophrenic men in jail instead of in help, even allowed to get to that state where they end up in jail in the first place. It's the same as bipolar. There are statistics about, I can't remember which prison it was, but they found something like 40% of the male prison population at this one prison that had bipolar, and then 30% of them had schizophrenia, and then about 20% of them had things like PTSD on top as well, and other stuff. Like there was literally only like 2% of the population in this prison didn't flag up for a severe mental illness. And wouldn't it be interesting if they've all known each other for the last 50 plus years? It would make sense. Well, I mean, 30 plus years, so it would make sense. Therapists who try to further your issues to make money. Yep. Again, I don't think they mean to further your issues, a lot of them, but where they are so lazy and inept and narcissistic, they don't ever bother thinking about truly trying to help. They think, a lot of the time they think they're helping, or again, they adopt this mindset of, if I can't help them, it's their fault. They're lying to me, or they're beyond help. Whereas there's no compassion in their way of thinking is the problem. They're truly broken people in a way. Yep, therapy can come in many forms. I was saying this earlier. For me, when fucking incels and right-wing nutjobs come in here and I get to scream at them for 10 minutes, that's my therapy. Genuinely. Earlier today I was telling somebody that, just fucking yell. I was saying to them, literally, sup bro, how you doing? I was saying to somebody earlier, if you think, God, chat's been going fast. I was saying to somebody earlier, if they're feeling stressed, needed something to do, didn't know what to do, they were like, I just want to scream and stuff. And I was like, well, you own your property. If you're by yourself, or if you're not, tell your partner or whatever, just yell. Just let one out. What reason have you got to not just give it a yell? Like, they live in the country, they've not got neighbours attached to them or anything. So I was like, why not just go in a room or go in your garden, just yell fuck. And they were like, oh my God, I hadn't thought about that. That's a great idea. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to let my dogs out and I'm going to go have a yell. And I was like, right? Doesn't that sound fun? I was like, this is for anyone else here who might own a property. You got a room with terrible wallpaper, you need to redecorate. Throw some fucking paint on the wall next time you're pissed off. Just do something. Vent in a physical manner. Vent in a way. When you're a child, you vent, and then you're told you're not allowed to. Because the reality is sometimes we need to, and it feels fucking good. It can take the stress away. Seriously. Why do you think so many men engage in violent sports and hobbies? Yeah, bottle things up and tell other people not to show their emotion. Instead of doing that, learn some healthy ways to do it. Make a quiet room, have a yell. Yeah, I know. Well, the more people with DID that I can get to say this and be vocal about it, Twilight, you say it, Jess says it, Bobo says it. I've got a lot of people to say it. I just need them to say it in a public manner. And things will start to occur. That's the goal, anyway. Hydrate. Right. I think we know who these people are, vaguely. What is his highest honours? Medical department of this university in Amsterdam. Inactive trauma therapy. It's with the same fucking font as the other book, right? Okay, so he's just Onno-van-der-Hart's buddy and Suzette Boone's buddy and Kathy Steele's buddy, right? He doesn't seem quite as... He seems to be the most clean of them, shall we say? But being best friends with that group, that is his damage in it.